So, as some of you may know, I have been a firm non-supporter, a firm hater, if you will, of the seahorse. A fish that I feel is truly terrible. Just in every aspect of the word, poorly made. Okay, just not a good fish. Okay. But unfortunately, it's been brought to my attention that a paper was published about how seahorse are incredible predators and that they're really good at catching fast fish. And so I have to apologize. And I think we need to read this paper together. Okay? According to the headlines, seahorses are terrible swimmers, but great predators. Now, trust me, I had trouble believing this as well. I hate seahorses just as much as the next person. How can something so slow, and they do admit that it's a terrible swimmer, be a great predator? Well, apparently, they have a spring-loaded neck. No, they didn't have sharp teeth all along. They have a spring-loaded neck. So you know how owls can sort of like turn their head all the way around in that creepy way that they do in horror movies? Seahorses can do that in every direction instantly. And apparently fast, little things that they're preying on, these little insects and phytoplankton and zooplankton in the water, are dumb enough to swim right by the seahorse's face. And the seahorse is able to just snap, suck, snap, suck, snap, suck. And they have this suction movement, which of course they put a seahorse in the lab and fed it something. And of course, many fish have this where they can, sort of vacuum in the water around them. But seahorse seem to be particularly good at it. And since they can snap their head so easily, they can basically snap their head around. Now, do I think that this makes seahorses a good predator and this makes seahorses a good evolution? No, absolutely not. Because, hear me out, the food still has to come to them. They can't get the food. They can't even really swim. The food has to land directly in front of them. And okay, if the food lands somewhere within a range sphere of their head, they can snap their head and suck it up. Fair enough. But that does not make you a good predator, okay? If you are playing a game of tag, right, and you sit down on the ground and you say, all right, if anybody comes within my grabbing range, you're not escaping. I'm going to tag anybody who comes within my range. You're not good at tag, okay? You're not doing a good job of tagging your opponents. You're just being lazy. If you can't move around to catch the things, then I think you're still doing a bad job. So although I do have to apologize that apparently there are some things that seahorses are somewhat good at, I still think seahorses are poorly adapted. And that is the first story today on Fish in the News. Welcome. I'm your host, AVNJ. Let's get right into the fish in the news. First thing I got to do is go to Google, right? Then I'm going to Google the word fish, and then I'm going to go to all filters, news, and let's see what's going on in the news. Eat America's most unwanted fish to save native species, scientists say. Wow, Kopi. I've been thinking about making a video on Kopi for a while now. No, I was not Australian. I was Killer Keemstar. You guys are all uncultured. You did not grow up it's okay. You didn't grow up in the time that I grew up. And this is something that people have been talking about for a while. The United States government has actually renamed carp because nobody wants to eat carp. They renamed it to Kopi, and they've started this whole project called Kopi, where they're trying to convince people to eat carp under the name Kopi so that people don't think of it like that. But I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. Supposedly carp isn't a bad food. It does sound like copium. Supposedly carp isn't bad to eat. People just don't want to eat it because it's like a trash fish. But people eat catfish all the time. And trust me, the things that catfish put in their mouth, you would not want to know what catfish put in their mouth. And the answer is everything, anything that fits. So the government has started this campaign for Kopi to hopefully get more people to start eating carp, because right now there are just billions of Asian carp throughout all the rivers in the Midwest and in many places in America. And my God, my voice today. And they don't have any real purpose. So the only way that governments can convince people to go out and fish them is by paying them directly for killing the carp. which is a really inefficient system. Ideally, people will deal with it on their own, of their own volition, if you give them some sort of incentive. So the government's trying to make people eat carp. So that's pretty much, I summarized the first story. There's a crab dispute. Okay. Seafood more sustainable. Sure. Steelhead are coming to the Boise River. All right. They're releasing steelhead. Cool. How massaging fish can produce no-kill caviar. Okay. Well, yes. So if fish are loaded with eggs, if a sturgeon is loaded with eggs, you can massage it out of them. I think we've watched a TikTok of someone doing that before. You can massage it out of them. You don't have to kill the fish. The problem is, after you do that, you then have to raise the fish for another long time before it gives the eggs again. And this is still kill caviar, because all of those eggs are not going to be babies, and sturgeon are generally a protected fish that we need to have as many babies as possible go out into the environment. So I don't know if that's great. Oh my God, there's a Hamas article about fish. Well, it's not about fish. It's called The Big Fish That Got Away. Anyways, game and fish stands by not feeding deer herds. Windalco slapped with fish habitat protection order. Why is Stanley Fish teaching fishing chimpanzees found to enjoy termites as a seasonal treat? There's fishing chimpanzees. They use tools to fish. I don't care about their termite treats. Show me how they fish. Although some chimpanzee communities exploit termites all year, including at relatively nearby Gombe Stream, termite fishing there also peaks in the early wet season. Wait, they go fishing for termites? Like they drop something into the termite mound? Oh my God, they drop something into the termite mound and then a bunch of termites grab onto it and then they bring it up and eat it like one of those, what were those necklace candies that you would get at like carnivals and stuff, where it was like on a string and then there were little sweet tart like ring candies on it? Those things were so good, by the way. I haven't had those in a long time. But yes, they fish for termites apparently. That's interesting. I did not know that was a thing. I don't know the name, but yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. This winter fished like a local. My God, the difference in articles about fish is so funny. This winter fished like a local at Orange Beach. A 2-degree difference in Celsius affecting the spatio-temporal distribution of small demersal fish assemblages and shallow tropical. Like, shut up. Speak like a human being. We Can Fish provides a unique opportunity for special needs children. That's cool. Special needs fishing learning. We Can Fish is a Coachella Valley, nonprofit that works with special needs children and their families by putting together fun activities focused on fishing. Cool. I participated in something like this. It was like a special needs event, and there's this pond at a hatchery, and they let the kids come in and basically had people teach them how to fish. And they asked me if I wanted to teach them how to fish, help teach them how to fish. And I was like, well, I would love to do that. Unfortunately, I have never held a fishing rod in my life, and I fear that the child may be better at fishing with a rod than I am. So instead, I helped with like the managing and organizing and everything, because I don't really know how to do that. Fish for Teeth Taco Team. Okay. National Fish and Wildlife announced $140 million in grants. Cool. The museum in Norway can't figure out how its dead fish were painted. Wait, so this museum in Norway has a gigantic fish? Is it a paddlefish? Oh, it's an Atlantic cod. Cool. But they don't know where they were painted. Pigments are finicky, susceptible to suffering and light and alcohol. Unfortunately for dead fish, museums have both. They're really cool. Wow, this is a cool museum. I want to go to this museum. I've never seen such a good... This is something that I really wanted to do for a while that I have not done, is gone to like a museum that has a really good fish collection and get to know, because they usually have someone in charge of the collections there, and get to know that person, because they could show me so many cool records. Like if there was a museum somewhere in New Jersey that has the records of the fish, they probably have a gar in there and a rainbow smelt and other stuff that we haven't seen in New Jersey in like 100 years. Probably be pretty damn cool. All right. Why are you saying museum with an A? What am I supposed to say? Museum? Museum? Is that better? I gotta go to the museum? Yes. How about I say it as wrong as possible that appeals to neither of us? Oh, I'm going to the museum. I'm going to the museum later. I'd be so surprised to see a fish museum in New Jersey. Well, there's museums of natural history, and they tend to keep the collections. At the worst, there is the Academy. I think it's in Philadelphia. I think it's Zoological Academy or Academy of Sciences or something like that. And they have records of like every fish in the area for a long time. They're like the experts. So I could potentially do an interview with one of those guys. I actually got information from them. That's how I found the northern iron color shiners in New Jersey.